Welcome to SVG-TV's news for Wednesday, January 6, 2015. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Commissioner of Police Michael Charles has expressed concern with the number of road fatalities for 2015. In an interview earlier today with SVG-TV News, Commissioner Charles says 2015 saw a number of serious road accidents where a number of persons lost their lives. He admitted that while he could not determine if drunk driving or road rage were the causes of some of these accidents, they are cause for concern.
We're not in a position to say if it was drunk driving, really. But the year started in 2015, January, with the rock gutter incident, and we know how that was nationwide. And soon after that, we had another accident where more than one person died. And like this rock gutter situation just triggered off accident in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And it went like that right up to December.
The police chief also cautioned road users to be more guarded so that lives can be saved.
Be alert on the road, and I happened to listen traffic talk this morning, and what the officer was cautioning people is with regards to road rage, and this is something that can trigger off a lot of things, really. You know, somebody may give you what we call locally a bad drive, and you get hot. And after you're done dealing with that person, you now still hot and driving, and so you're not being able to concentrate on the road, and accident can happen. I know the traffic chief, he's been doing a good job. He's Station Sergeant Nero, Sergeant Providence, they've been doing a good job from time to time, going to radio stations and so on, and do their bit. And so, in that regards, I know that the traffic branch is up.
Leader of this country, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, is also calling on Vincentians to do more to maintain safety on the roads. In his New Year's address to the nation, the Prime Minister expressed concern that vehicles are becoming dangerous weapons. He said with 25 persons dead from road accidents in 2015, he appealed to motorists to drive with consideration.
In 2016, we must do better on the roads. There's too much careless and reckless driving. Everybody knows that. Everybody is commenting on it. The motor vehicle is fast becoming a dangerous weapon. In 2015, 25 persons died in road accidents, and dozens more suffered injuries, in some cases serious injuries. Surely, all of this is unacceptable. It is true that the police must better enforce the traffic laws, but drivers of motor vehicles have an overriding obligation to drive with due consideration for other road users. In 2016, our government will embark upon a focused national conversation on this matter with a view to implementing appropriate changes. We must be very serious on this issue. It has become one of life and death.
And the Traffic Department of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force says it will continue to be vigilant and proactive in ensuring the safety of all road users in 2016. Speaking with SVG Television News earlier today, Sergeant Henry Providence of the Traffic Department says his department aims to continue working in the communities and educating the public on road safety, and added that this tactic has worked in the past and is confident that it will continue to work.
Going to the schools where we're going to conduct lectures to very young youngsters, and that is also not only the primary school but also the secondary school. We're going to continue also with our radio programs. We have radio programs on VFM, on NBC Radio. We have radio programs all on these radio stations. So we're going to continue that for 2016 because we recognize that has worked for us in the past, and we believe that it's going to work come this year again. We're going to also step up on our patrols. We're going to see the police more regularly in the strategic areas in and about St. Vincent and also in the Grenadines, because we also recognize that it is a deterrent when persons recognize that the police in the area, it deters them from doing a lot of stuff. So we're going to continue with that because we recognize that also has worked with us in the past, and we are hopeful that it's going to do that for 2016 as well.
Speaking on the role of the police in ensuring safety on the roads and prosecuting those who disregard the regulations, Sergeant Providence said that traffic officers are many times confined by the laws on the books, which restrict their ability to properly prosecute offenders, and is hopeful for the passing of new legislations and the acquisition of new technology, which will greatly empower the police to carry out their duties.
It is very limited for them to take a post before the court because of the laws that are present in the book. And I say that to say, if for instance that you are driving and the officer believes that you are under the influence of alcohol or drug, what the officer has to do there is to take that individual to the hospital, and blood will be drawn from him to say what his blood alcohol consumption level is. Now, if you refuse your blood being drawn, that is it for the police. The police has no authority on our books to demand that the blood is drawn from you. So that is why we at the department for 2016 is very hopeful, and we're going to push it for this year, that we're going to see breathalyzer tests and so forth being put on our laws to give the police put them in a better position to have these apparatus, these devices, that we could test persons, and also the legislation to go with it.
Sergeant Providence said another of his department's initiatives to clamp down on careless and reckless driving is to hold consultation with omnibus operators and conductors to educate them on their role that they have to play in keeping the public safe.
Early this year, I don't know, I'm not in a position to give it a time, but we are going to speak directly to the conductors and owners and operators of minibuses 2016 in a form of way to educate them and to enlighten them as to what is expected of them. Because we also recognize that a number of them may be operating omnibuses or operating on omnibuses, but they do not know what governs them, they do not know what they have to be doing, and so forth. So we are going to enlighten them as a part of our educational drive for 2016.
In other news, leader of the New Democratic Party, Annie Musa, says that the actions of the police today towards protesters in front of the electoral office building is making things worse. Users and the protesters, who were some feet away from the building, were adamant that they would not go within the 200-yard radius which the police instructed them to go. He says such move by the local constabulary is totally unnecessary.
I got here just a while ago, but I understand that Luther King was struck by the police while she was here, and she has been arrested and carried down to the police barracks. Apparently they're insisting they want us to move from this area. They say you have to be 200 yards away. Well, we're not moving. Okay? We're here, we're staying here now. Later on, I'll go down, since the law is at Lucette now, I'll wait a while before going down there this year. This is totally unnecessary and useless. It's not going to improve any situation. It's going to make things ultimately worse. This election was stolen and remains stolen until it's changed. We're staying right here. We're staying right here.
The NDP continues to challenge the results of the December 9th general elections with a series of protest action. And two of the protesters who witnessed the incident this afternoon in front of the electoral office claimed that officers were physically abusive to the small crowd that was gathered in front of the building.
We were here this morning, as usual, along here with placards. I've got all the photographs to show. Luzette, I and another lady went to the bank. She got a phone call to say, oh, come back. We all three came back and found ourselves surrounded by police. And then another jeep came with more police in their uniforms and surrounded us. They held hands and kind of like, made us sort of like come up here. So from there, they kettled us. They were trying to kettle us. You know, some of us kind of stumbled, and some of them were quite brutal. They were actually pushing us, physically pushing us. I was one of the ones who were pushed. Rosette decided to sit down on the ground as a protest. She was there for quite a while. Then afterwards, several of them came and physically manhandled her. I've got all the photographs to prove. Her skin was kind of showing, you know, her bra and everything. You know, it's really very bad, because people were sort of saying that she should have a female police officer to touch her. But no, they physically all touched her. A whole heap of men hand on her.
We there, they tell you must go 200 yards. 200 yards, right up at the palm tree up there, up by grade up here we go. Right? We say we ain't going to that, we want to go on the road. Then he said, "My police is push me on the road, push me, palm their hand together, and jacking people on the ground, so. What will you do, your man? Your man, when you go and sit down, your man do nothing. Jack, yeah, the breast, the bravest, must explain all things, and pushing in the jeep. But it ain't no, it's not good. We protesting clean and good. We ain't trouble nobody. We ain't trouble soul. Every day we go every day. It's only 8 we need this man here. 8 we alone. And a small crowd.
SVG-TV Sharon Gawe, who was on the scene, interviewed the Deputy Commissioner of Police Ronald Hathaway on the incident.
Commissioner, how are you doing?
I'm very good, doing well, ma'am.
What we're hearing that they have to move, they have to be here at around. We're hearing that they have to, the protesters and the picket line have to be removed, and they have to be around 200 meters, 200 yards. What is the clarity? Can you clarify?
200 yards away from the building. That's it.
So when was this decision made? Because they've been protesting for quite a while.
It's not a decision, we got it by the law. So we're just enforcing the law.
So if they do not move, what do you think is the penalty this morning, this afternoon?
Can you say again?
If they do not move, what would occur?
The police will take matters into their hand from a legal perspective. We will be guided by the law.
What about this situation with Lucette King? What is that scenario about?
I do not wish to comment on that matter. She has been removed from there. She was obstructing traffic. That's all I will say.
Thank you very much. Anything else you want to say about the picketers and the protesters?
No, please. No.
So how many officers you have here with you this afternoon?
I'm not in a position to tell you how many. But officers are here to address the issue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A court does not rule on sentimental grounds but on the facts presented before it and the law applicable to those facts. That's according to Attorney at Law P.R. Campbell QC on the Law and Youth program aired on SVG televisions on Monday nights. Commenting on the matter in which 2 election petitions have been filed by the New Democratic Party, Campbell said that he has no doubt that these petitions will be carefully looked at by the court and ruled accordingly.
Whenever the High Court rules, the losing side would have the right to appeal. But when the Court of Appeal should have delivered its decision on any appeal, that would be the end of the process. As I've said before, it would be no point protesting against the ruling of the court, because in our system, disputes as to elections are finally settled by the courts. And whenever the court hears a dispute and rules accordingly, ultimately, when no further appeals are possible, that would be that.
Noting a fundamental principle where the court will not go against the wishes of the voters, Campbell QC said that unless one can be found guilty of fraud, the court will not hold for that seat to be vacated.
Of the margin, where results are very close, the court will be more likely to invalidate a result than where the margin is wide. So that in the context of St. Vincent and Grenadines in our elections, based on our numbers, where a candidate has been declared to have won by over 300 votes, it isn't going to be easy for the court to set that aside unless there has been strong evidence of glaring fraud. So it remains to be seen what evidence will be put forward.
The Queen's Counsel said it is the democratic right of a person to go to court and that once the matter is taken before the court, the facts will take over from rumors and speculations. He also noted that election law is very technical as rules are strict and complex.
I'm not saying that to take sides, but I'm saying that to temper speculation and to inject a sense of realism into the expectations of persons. And it is a matter of deep regret, as far as I'm concerned, that persons' hopes have been built up so high that no room has been left for disappointment, as the old people say. I fear that there has been a lot of misleading information promulgated by those who ought to know better. But time will tell. Maybe I'm wrong. But ultimately, time will tell.
And in other news, the government has extended the Christmas barrel concession to Friday, January 15, 2016. According to communication consultant Elson Crick, as of January 5, 2016, a total of 34,140 barrels have so far been cleared from Port Kingstown. During the period November 9, 2015 to December 24, 2015, a total of 13,378 concessionary barrels were imported. Last year, the annual figure was 31,224. The 2013 annual figure was 28,180, while the 2012 annual figure was 28,403. Alicants throughout SVG and the region are mourning the passing of the Very Reverend Dean Patrick McIntosh, Dean of the St. George's Cathedral, who passed away yesterday evening at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. Bishop Leopold described his passing as a great loss. He says that Dean McIntosh was a very faithful and dedicated servant of God.
And as I said before, to be a great loss for us in the diocese. I knew him for many years because we are related, we are cousins, and before he became a priest. And then when I also joined the ministry as a priest, and in my first parish at Bible, he was in Holy Trinity, Georgetown. And he was a great support to me as a young priest in the church. And even now as bishop of the church and as a dean, I would meet with him for advice and so forth. So he gave me great support in my ministry as bishop of the diocese. So it's a great loss at this time. So. But we continue to trust in Almighty God, to know that it's in Him that we'll find strength and courage to face the days ahead.
His wife, Camille McIntosh, who was visibly heartbroken, took the time to speak to our news team earlier today. She revisited the memories of her husband of 38 years and recalls how affectionate, thoughtful, and caring he was.
It's been my part. I always remember his voice, his smile, his touch, his hugs. He didn't pass without touching, but he just loved his work, loved what he was doing. There were times that I'd get mad with him and I'd say to him, "You put your work in front of us." And he would say, "Oh, darling, don't say that." Yeah, "Oh, darling, don't say that." Sometimes he would get up at 1:30 in the morning. I will get up and there was no husband in my bed. I remember going to school when Mrs. Aline, who is now Deacon Aline, she was my head teacher, and I went to school one morning and I said, "Miss Aline, I got up this morning 1:30 and there was no husband in my bed, and if anything happened to him, I'm going to sue the church." And she would say, "Mac, take it easy, that is Father back." He just wanted to do and do and do.
Mrs. McIntosh also recollected how committed her husband was to his God and congregation.
We had to move out of the building to go to Zion Hill.
And he was there Sunday. The Sunday he spoke to them at church, told them what the engineers said. And the Sunday night he was, talking, planning, walking. And I said, Patrick, you see any other priests walk like you? And he said, darling, I am Patrick McIntosh. I have to do what I have to do. He just wanted to do his best. It was just his calling. And he took his calling seriously from a very young man.
The two grief-stricken children of the Very Reverend Patrick McIntosh also reminisce on the fond memories of their father. Son Patrick Jr. remembers the father who was never too busy to show his concern, while daughter Camille McIntosh Johnson recalls the father who walked her down the aisles on her wedding day despite having surgery on his leg.
Hug now and again, because anyhow, anytime it was my father, I could have hugged him, had a little conversation, that kind of thing. He was there. Even though he was at church, he was there. He provided. He was a lot of people's mentors. He was my mentor. Even though sometimes you might go a whole day and you don't see him, he was still there. His presence was still there. And as mommy said, he'll pass and he say, if I'm there by the table, he say, my son. And then he go into the kitchen and he come back. He get a little chat and back to the office. Always dedicated to work, dedicated to family.
Be there for persons. I don't think across St. Vincent there wasn't anybody that didn't know Father Mac. Even if they didn't know his name, they would know the priest. And then Junior and I would have to live up to, your Father Mac children, your Father Mac daughter. Even if they didn't know your name, they know Father Mac children. I remember him walking down the aisle on my wedding day. On his crutches. He had surgery on his Achilles tendon. And he made sure that he was well enough. He wanted to. And I don't think I would have done it without him being there. He was there. And he performed my ceremony. He was a role model, mentor.
May Father Mac rest in peace. In other news, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment is said to be on high alert for the Zika virus, as there have been a number of confirmed cases in the region. The Zika virus is transmitted by the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which is the same vector responsible for dengue and chikungunya. The Ministry of Health advises that symptoms for these diseases are similar, including fever, muscle and joint pain, headache, swelling of the lower limbs, nausea, weakness, and rash. These symptoms occur between 3 and 12 days. According to the ministry, there is no reported case of Zika virus in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Vincentians are being asked to be proactive in eliminating possible mosquito breeding site in and around homes. The Ministry of Health says it is also monitoring a rise in influenza activity across the region. Seasonal flu outbreaks usually occur between December and February and can last as late as May, and the Ministry of Health is assuring the public that it is working to continue to maintain and strengthen its detection and response measures. The ministry is also advising the public to practice respiratory hygiene measures in order to reduce the risk of transmission of influenza and other respiratory viruses. Influenza symptoms includes a temperature of over 38 degrees Celsius or 100 degrees Fahrenheit, sore throat, runny or stuffy nose, coughing, headache, body ache, and fatigue. Persons experiencing influenza-like symptoms are advised to attend the nearest health center or the accident and emergency department of the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital for appropriate management. A Vincentian-born woman who was 5 months pregnant was found dead this morning inside her apartment in the Bronx, New York. According to media reports coming out of New York, around 5 a.m. today, police discovered the body of Adrian Carruth in a crawl space at the basement of her New York apartment. Carruth, who is originally from Peniston, reportedly vanished on Sunday morning. Her best friend Julia McCall told police in New York she may have been the one of the last person to talk to Carruth before she disappeared. McCall said she got a text inviting her to brunch Sunday, but instead Carruth's boyfriend reported that she was gone and that she had left nearly all of her possessions behind. Reports are that her father and boyfriend are being asked questions in relation to her death. Media reports say a plywood board above the crawl space covered the homemade grave where Carruth's body was dumped and partially covered with gravel. Clinton Cambridge, a young man from Marlow Village in Sign Hill who reportedly told detectives that he has given them everything and that he is ready to go to jail, was this morning ordered to spend the next 5 years behind bars for gun, ammunition, and marijuana possession. The order was handed down by Chief Magistrate Ration Brown at the conclusion of a trial which led to Cambridge conviction. A 9mm semi-automatic pistol along with 35 rounds of ammunition and 873 grams of marijuana were discovered on Cambridge after members of the CID under the command of Detective Corporal Colin May carried out a search warrant at his home on December 26 last year, where Cambridge was met standing in his house at a face basin. Cambridge told the court that he had the firearm and ammunition in his possession for his protection.